Hello and thank you for joining us. A Manitouwadge man convicted of second-degree murder in the stabbing death of his younger half-brother 2 years ago appeared at a sentencing hearing Wednesday at the Thunder Bay Courthouse. 40-year-old Jesse Allen is facing a mandatory life sentence following a jury's guilty verdict in May. The victim, 18-year-old Wayne Allen, was stabbed twice in the chest at the family home in Manitouwadge in January of 2021. Victim impact statements were delivered by the young man's family, who say their lives have been ruined by Jesse Allen's actions. The judge will now determine his period of parole and eligibility. The Crown asked for 18 years, while Allen's lawyer requested the minimum 10 years or slightly more. The case will be back in court next month to set a date for the sentencing decision. One person is dead following a single vehicle collision early Friday morning near Kenora. It happened on the highway to Grassy Narrows, about 12 kilometers north of Highway 17. According to OPP, the two occupants were transported to Lake of the Woods District Hospital, where the driver was pronounced dead and the passenger sustained minor injuries. Meanwhile, OPP continued to investigate another serious crash, which occurred Thursday evening on Highway 17 near Marathon. The occupants of an SUV and a pickup truck were transported to hospital, and the highway was shut down for around 9 hours. There's no word on the extent of those injuries. OPP and Sioux Lookout have now charged a third person in connection with the homicide in that community on August 11th. The first two suspects, a 36-year-old man and a 21-year-old woman from Sioux Lookout, were both charged last week with second-degree murder. OPP have now announced the arrest of 26-year-old Kevin Masakiash, also from Sioux Lookout. He's been charged with accessory to murder, carrying a concealed weapon, and making death threats. He appeared in court last Saturday and remains in custody. Police have identified the victim as 40-year-old Adriana Bottle. First responders were called to a former trailer park on Durant's Road, and Bottle was pronounced dead at the scene. OPP have not provided any further details about the circumstances of her death. The Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry has deployed over 80 firefighters from this region to Western Canada in response to calls for assistance in fighting wildfires. The firefighters are being sent to areas such as British Columbia, Alberta, and the Northwest Territories. Joe Sadowski reports.
The ministry acknowledges and appreciates the commitment of our personnel to fighting wildland fires, not just here in Ontario, but across the nation. Being away from family and friends is certainly challenging on top of an already demanding job. So we do wish all a very safe deployment and thank them for their wildland firefighting efforts in British Columbia and the Northwest Territories.
Due to the increased wildfires and dangers in other provinces and territories, the Ministry of Natural Resources and Forestry in the Northwest region has sent out assistance in areas of dire need. Fire Information Officer Amy Peltonen says because of the significantly reduced number of fires in the Northwest region, they're able to send help to the widespread forest fire concerns out west.
Fire activity has de-escalated significantly following more seasonal precipitation values and temperatures throughout July and early August. So this has resulted in a much more manageable fire situation overall.
In addition to the 83 firefighters being deployed, the ministry in the Northwest region has sent out equipment such as hoses and hose bags, pump kits, radio batteries, and shovels to the affected areas. Peltonen went on to say that if the forest fires in Ontario become even less of an issue, it could be possible to see more firefighters being deployed elsewhere.
So all requests for resource sharing assistance are very carefully assessed while balancing resource needs here in Ontario to ensure that we can remain prepared for any wildland fire demands here at home. So yes, it is possible that we could send additional personnel and resources to help.
Joe Sadowski, TBT News.
Dryden OPP continued to probe a single vehicle collision, which left the driver with life-threatening injuries. It happened last Sunday morning in Wabigoon. Police and EMS responded, and the woman driving the SUV was transported to hospital by Orange to be treated for her injuries. The OPP Technical Collision and Crime units have joined the investigation, and anyone with information is asked to contact OPP or Crime Stoppers. Bearskin Lake First Nation is now the latest remote community to be connected to the power grid, thanks to the Watay Power Project. The community was electrified in July and held a formal celebration this week to mark the big occasion. Lee Noonan has the details.
With the electrification of Bearskin Lake on July 7th, the First Nation can say goodbye to an era of dependence on diesel-generated power.
It's a milestone. It's a tremendous step forward for this community.
According to Chief Kanama Waterman, power demand from the community of around 500 people had already maxed out the capacity of their diesel generator. Connecting to the grid will make it possible to power a new office building that had been sitting vacant, as well as several new homes now under construction, and some bigger projects going forward.
Water and wastewater project, which is a big project for the whole community. And also there's other buildings that will come along with that project, like a water treatment plant, garage, to house these vehicles and all. And there's another big office building we're looking at to house our health department workers.
Roughly 600 kilometers north of Thunder Bay, Bearskin Lake First Nation is the northernmost community connected to the grid via the $1.9 billion Wataynikaneyap Power Project.
Our communities need reliable energy in the community, and we have achieved that.
Bearskin is the fourth community to be powered up by the Watay project, with 5 more planned later this year and the remaining 7 in 2024. Ignace says it's a big deal to see hydroelectric power become a reality in Bearskin Lake.
We have been talking about this project for the last 16 years at least. And at the beginning of the project, it was an idea.
Chief Kanama Waterman says there were some mixed feelings about the project as people saw the clearing of the 40-meter right-of-way, but that generally community members have come to understand the need.
The most important thing that's prevalent in any project development is the respect and the responsibilities that each one must take especially when we deal with the land users in their homeland.
Lee Noonan, TBT News.
And we'll be back in just a moment with an update on the efforts to build a commercial port in the township of Red Rock. Welcome back. Despite some delays, progress has continued with the development of a port in Red Rock on the township's former mill site. The proponents behind the project say the port could be active next summer. Lee Noonan was on site and has this report.
When the plan to open a commercial port at the former mill site in Red Rock was announced in March, hopes were high that the refurbishment of the old pier would begin this fall. Although that's been delayed now, site supervisor Jesse Oatman still feels good about their progress so far.
We should have everything that we wanted to be complete by the middle of November this year. Besides, the port project has not begun. Setbacks there, but other than that, we are on schedule.
Red Rock Deputy Mayor Gordon Muir says it was hard at first for longtime residents to watch the last remnants of the mill coming down, but that now things are getting exciting.
It was tough for them to see. Many years this mill kept this township going. I think at this point now, when they've seen the progress here, I was able to take a tour myself, and the progress they're making here and the plans they have it's amazing, and it will revitalize this town.
Despite the delays with the construction of the pier itself, work is moving forward on other aspects of the site, and Oatman says the port could see its first ships next summer.
It's hard to get contractors in, so I think we're doing quite well. We're ready for construction on the port in the spring, so that's a win. And the rail should be out by the end of the month for assessing to put the new rail back in.
Eventually, new rail will connect the port to the CP line. Meanwhile, construction of the road to the future pier site is finished, and significant progress is being made on environmental cleanup.
It was an old mill site, so what we're bumping into is a lot of different processes of a bunker C waste, contaminated with rainwater and groundwater, and a lot of stuff like that. So what we try to do is we take off the liquid first, we try to get it into a solid, then we solidify it, and then test it to make sure that it's not hazardous and non-regulated.
Hyde says it'll be another 4 to 6 weeks remediating the last 2 tanks standing here, and that they'll be here for at least a few years as work is ongoing and more waste is discovered. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
For the first time in decades, there's a new house going up in Red Rock. For the township, it represents not just a new resident, but the start of what many hope is a new trend of growth and prosperity. The 3-bedroom single-family home going up on Rankin Street is the first new build since the mid-1980s. That's according to Deputy Mayor Gordon Muir. He's confident the house will be the first of many new residential projects coming to Red Rock.
It means a lot. It's groundbreaking, actually. Like one of the biggest things that we have here is a town that can hold a lot of people. And this is the start of bringing people to our town and growing it and expanding. We have a lot to offer. We're 1 hour from the city. We're 1 hour from the bush. We're right on the beautiful lake of Lake Superior, the most beautiful lake in the world. We have everything to offer here. So we're hoping that this brings a lot of people to town, and we can, see the kids running down the street, and we see the hockey teams picking back up, and the rec center booming, the waterfront booming. It's the start of something great.
Construction is expected to be completed and the house listed by late December or early January. The developer BMI Group subsidiary Red Rock Development is the same company behind the port project. The company is also working on converting a commercial building in Red Rock into an 11-unit residence, with construction slated to begin in November. There's a change of leadership coming at the Nipigon District Memorial Hospital. Current CEO Kathy Eady is retiring, and a new CEO has been announced. The hospital's interim chief operating officer, Shannon Cormier, has been chosen to replace Eady in the top job. The Manitouwadge native was previously executive director of North of Superior Counseling Programs. With her background in mental health, the well-being of hospital staff will be among her top priorities, as well as the creation of a new strategic plan this fall.
There's also hiring and retention, making sure that we're operating at full capacity and looking into the future, because the long-term expansion, long-term care expansion is also one of those big priorities. And that's also going to have a significant increase in human resource capacity as well. So pulling all of the different pieces together really start moving forward.
Would really like to see through some of the things that I've started here. So some of, we're looking at having more ambulatory care procedures here. We're looking at, perhaps partnering for an echocardiogram, really wanting to see the 30 beds, but I'm passing that over to someone who's going to make sure that that comes to fruition. So I'm confident that it's going to occur, and I'll still be here for that opening.
While there are many projects for Cormier to take over, Edie also has many accomplishments she's proud of in her 3 years as CEO, including getting the provisional long-term care funding and becoming a best practice spotlight organization. She also started up an Indigenous Advisory Committee, a stable patient transfer program, and an in-hospital RPM course. Edie will be handing over the reins to Cormier on November 6th. As part of the province's $13.2 billion push to create thousands of childcare spaces by the end of 2026, the Kenora District Services Board has announced a new childcare program in Sioux Lookout, funded through their budget. As Sioux Lookout's Head Start Childcare Center prepares to relocate, the KDSB jumped on the vacancy as an opportunity to offer direct delivery childcare services from the purpose-built center. Speaking to reporters after a recent announcement in Sioux Lookout, KDSB Chief Administrator Henry Wall shared what the cost savings associated with direct delivery could mean for the future of childcare services in the region.
And as part of the province's announcement of over 1,000 new childcare spaces over the next 4 years, saying, let's make sure that we can move Sioux Lookout along with our other communities, Pickle Lake, Ignace to Kenora, to move to universal access to childcare. In 4 years, if everything goes as planned, the District of Kenora will be the first region in Ontario to have full universal access to childcare for families.
Friday is a very important day.
The one hurdle that could present an issue for the KDSB's plan is the number of early childhood educators available in remote communities. The Township of Ignace's council and interim mayor have sent out a stern warning to the community, denouncing incidents of harassment that have allegedly targeted municipal politicians and staff. Ignace recently went through a period in which infighting plagued the township council in office, resulting in the resignation of former Mayor Bill Gascon and a councillor. Following the resignations, council made a decision to appoint Kim Bagri as interim mayor. According to Bagri, tensions in the community have yet to subside, and a statement issued by council relating to cyberbullying was released after hostility spread beyond social media. Bagri says it culminated in a series of criminal acts that went so far as to target her home.
They broke into my house. They put, I got a brand new vehicle. They put a foot-long scratch in my vehicle. If you have a problem, it doesn't matter with an employee, it doesn't matter with anyone on council, you need to bring it to the mayor and council.
Bagri emphasized council's willingness to address grievances from residents and encourages those with concerns to express them directly to council. A new North Shore business is hoping tourists and locals alike will still want to sleep in a barrel. More on that after the break. Welcome back. Would you ever sleep in a wooden barrel? Well, two sisters with an Airbnb near Nipigon are betting that you would. They have launched a creative new hospitality business on the North Shore, renting out sleeper barrels to travelers and those just looking to get away from it all. Lee Noonan has the details.
Cypress Sleeper Barrels is nestled along the edge of Nipigon Bay, about halfway between the towns of Nipigon and Rossport.
Once you roll up, you get this beautiful view of Lake Superior. As soon as you step out, you can feel the wind, you can hear the wind, you can hear the waves. It's just really serene and really relaxing. When you are ready to go into the barrel, it's almost like stepping into another world. The smell of cedar just kind of hits you right away, and you just feel nice, calm, and relaxed. And you get shelter from the elements if it isn't the greatest day, or even if it is a great day, and you can look at the lake through the big bubble.
Tara Carr started the business with her sister after encountering a sleeper barrel out west.
I was on Vancouver Island, and I was driving to one of the parks there, Cathedral Grove, and I drove past this bubble that I noticed, and I was like, what are those? So that's what inspired it.
There are 2 barrels available to book via Airbnb. Each sleeps up to 4 people, although Carr cautions that the lower bunk is best for kids or at least people who aren't claustrophobic. Each barrel also comes with an outdoor kitchen and living area and a sauna on the beach.
First thing we did is hopped up in the real bed and then looked out at Lake Superior.
And how's the view?
It's awesome. Yeah, I like the dome because you can see all around. You can like stick your head up in it and it's full vision. So that's cool. Sometimes you see pictures online and you show up and there's actually a trailer park behind you and people like doing nefarious things. But this is beautiful and it looks just like it. I'm really excited.
Carr spent all last summer working on the site and plans to eventually add a 3rd barrel along the beach. She's also put some effort into creating a welcoming environment for some of the local fauna.
When we were building these, I noticed a lot of fireflies at nighttime. I was like, well, this would be a great experience for people who never get to see that. So what we ended up doing was making it so it's more inviting for them to come. So like the trees, placing driftwood down or rottenwood because they like to lay their eggs by it. So we don't touch this at all because they really like damp, long grass as well. So at nighttime, you'll just see it. In June, it just lights right up full of fireflies.
The barrels are almost fully booked for this season with only a couple nights still available, but next year they should be open for bookings from June through October. Lee Noonan, TBT News.
Officials with the Thunder Bay Regional Hospital say the 50-50 draws continue to pay dividends for patient care as the proceeds are helping to purchase much-needed equipment. This includes 2 new C-arm X-ray units, which will be replacing old ones bought in 2003. The C-arms are used in various areas, including the fracture clinics and ambulatory care, and provide crucial X-ray support during procedures like spinal surgeries. The new ones are expected to be in operation by March 2024. The hospital purchased both of those units at a cost of over $300,000, using around $100,000 provided by the 50-50 proceeds. Hospital Foundation CEO Glenn Craig says the money allows the acquisition of much-needed equipment sooner.
Usually we're in a funding arrangement with the hospital. The hospital has certain amounts of money that every year they allocate towards capital, but we're able to stretch those dollars by adding to them rather significantly. And like I said, we're doing more, faster, and we're dreaming bigger.
The hospital's in a position not unlike the rest of the world where inflation has hit us. We've got equipment that's 20 years old and is starting some of the bigger pieces of equipment that are end of life, so the support from the foundation is incredibly important.
Millima says the 50-50 draw also provided around $500,000 for last year's purchase of a new MRI machine, which had a total cost of around $3 million. That unit should be up and running by September 30th. A clinical psychologist who is cycling across Canada was traveling along the North Shore this past week. Dr. Alex DiGiacomo is on a journey to raise awareness for youth mental health support, and her Break the Cycle campaign is meant to raise money, share knowledge, and show families they're not alone. DiGiacomo only picked up cycling 4 months ago, but she's already managed to make it all the way from the West Coast to Thunder Bay in just 29 days. The psychologist's goal is to make it to Halifax in another 3 weeks. The campaign had a fundraising goal of $10,000, but after surpassing that, the target is now $50,000. DiGiacomo says raising awareness for this issue was very important, with so many youth unable to access mental health supports.
They really feel like they're the only people with this problem, right? They're the only people that are so anxious that it's hard for them to get to school, or they're so anxious that they have to stay home all the time, and they really feel like they're alone. Unfortunately, the vast majority of kids and parents aren't able to access the care that they need. This is a massive problem, and it's very overwhelming and hard to figure out how to solve it, but I knew I wanted to do something to kind of move in the direction of a solution.
Anyone who wants to support Break the Cycle can visit the campaign's charitable impact page or Giacomo's Instagram. And unfortunately, that's all the time we have for this edition of Northwest Newsweek. Thank you so much for joining us.